Hello and good morning from Frankfurt. I've just arrived here with a morning flight, and today we will be heading from Frankfurt to Zurich with Helvetic Airways, which are flying on behalf of Swiss International Airlines. Since we are already in the security zone, there is no security checks for us right now, so that's as easy as it could be. Today's flight will be on business class, and normally I say that flying business class within Europe is not really worth it because the price you're paying and what you're getting in return doesn't really justify it. But since my connecting flight in Zurich is an intercontinental flight and that is also on business class, then the entire booking is basically in business class. The good thing about that is it gives us the opportunity to check out business class on an inter-European flight and see what that is about, how that is. Maybe things have changed since the corona pandemic. But first I need to find out where my gate is, and then I will head over there and yeah, let's see how this flight will go. While I'm making my way to the gate, let me just make my point clear to avoid any misunderstanding. Flying business class, even on shorter inter-European flights, comes with many benefits, starting from checking in at business class counters, access to the priority lane at security, and priority boarding. You get access to lounges and can check in more luggage, as well as have more hand luggage with you. While in Europe on single-aisle aircraft it is not standard to have dedicated business class seats on planes, you are usually guaranteed to have the seat next to you free, and food and drinks on board are included. So you do get many services, but some of them you can get even in economy if you are a status member of a bonus program, and for many of the other services, while great to have, they might just not be that necessary on every flight. Long story short, I think in many cases flying on the cheaper economy ticket will cover all your needs on your trip, but there can be, of course, situations where it is nice to have access to more services, and so today we'll see how Swiss International Airlines will be performing on this short flight. Boarding is started and we have access to priority boarding, which however falls a bit flat when boarding, as for today's flight, is done by bus. So I get to enter the bus first, but there's not much gained by that, to be honest. So as mentioned, today's flight, although carried out with an LX flight number, is operated by Helvetic Airways and on one of their Embraer ERJ190s. The cabin is kept in the, for Swiss Airlines, very traditional brown and beige tones, and while individually I have never been a huge fan of those colors, they do work for me here as I quite like the cabin look. The plane is still being refueled, so we have some time to look further into what the cabin offers. The seats are fairly comfortable and will definitely do for today's short flight. The seat pitch is not amazing but sufficient. As a point of reference, I'm 182 centimeters tall. Wi-Fi or any type of power plugs are not available on today's flight, but you'll find some reading material in your little storage pocket. Apart from the menu for onboard food and drink purchases, which we don't need today, there is also the in-flight shopping magazine, which honestly also isn't much of interest for me, although they have a plain model, scale 400, and for a very reasonable price, but it doesn't look like the model offers much detailing, so I guess not really worth it after all. Shortly after I have reached my seat, a crew member comes by and hands out a bottle of water and a sanitizing wipe. The plane, already being a bit delayed due to the late refueling, is even further delayed, but in this case I'm actually quite happy about it, as the crew decided to wait for a few more pieces of luggage, and well, one of them is mine. So yeah, I obviously don't mind them getting my luggage on board this flight as well. And with the last few pieces of luggage having been loaded, it is time to get started on our 35 minutes flight to Zurich. Once in the air, the crew comes by with a tray with some kind of canapes, I would say. The first one with some sort of pumpkin mousse, which actually was delicious. And one with roast beef, which I however thought had a strange aftertaste. All this was rounded off with a little but delicious portion of overnight oats with strawberries and something to drink, in my case a still water and an orange juice. While the crew at first seemed a bit reserved, once we got in the air, they clearly warmed up and were very attentive throughout the flight, which already was coming to an end as we started our approach into Zurich. And with that, welcome to Zurich Airport. We have a remote position, which means we will get to the terminal by bus. But what Swiss does is to let its business class passengers get onto a smaller bus first, which will bring the passengers faster to the terminal, which is a small thing to do but excellent service. And I have in the past profited from just this, as it meant I could make my connection flight. Today there is no immediate danger of me not reaching my next flight in time, but it remains a nice service by Swiss and is a great way to round off a nice and enjoyable flight. But the question remains. Ultimately, is it really worth it flying business class on such a short flight? I would still tend to say no, but once in a while it doesn't hurt to get pampered a little bit. But for now we have reached the end of this trip. I will now head over to my next flight, and that will also be a trip report here on the channel, so keep an eye out for that. Now, of course, if you like this type of content, don't forget to leave a like, and if you are new around here, you're always welcome to subscribe, and hope to see you on another trip very soon here on the channel.